Sign up to the SBR Network and use your free daily bet points to earn real-world prizes. Click on the page and start winning now.
Hi, welcome to SBR Forum Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are doing some conference tournament previews right now with Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com. Yes, Joe Duffy is back with us now for college basketball. Had an awesome year in football with us, both college and pro. Joe, thanks for being back with us.
Thank you, Peter.
All right, how's college basketball going for you in general before we get into the AAC conference tournament preview?
It's actually been great, and as it turns out, I kind of did a little bit of reverse what I told you before. Systems have been spectacular this year, and the computer systems have been nice to us, and they've been mixing and really corroborating our old-fashioned intelligence as well.
Okay, sounds good. Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com. The AAC, in the middle of the season, it was pretty bunched up. There were like 5 teams. They were all ranked, all playing well. Louisville has since, though, emerged as the clear-cut elite team of this conference, and that's reflected in the futures odds at 5 dimes. They're minus 145 to win the tournament. Second choice is Memphis at plus 400. Third choice is Cincinnati, who's actually even with Louisville in the standings at plus 600. Then SMU is the fourth choice at plus 1100. SMU has really come on strong this year, but they have had a notable edge at home, and when they're not at home, it's a little bit different. And then UConn falling a little bit. They are plus 1,200 to win the whole thing. I'm looking at this. Louisville's looking like a very strong favorite here. I wouldn't want to bet against them, except maybe with Cincinnati at plus 600. That looks a little bit high to me. What do you think, Joe?
No, you're right. Louisville, classic case of peaking at the right time.
Yeah.
We see it in every single sport. A lot of times when teams win national championships, they come back with a little bit of a hangover the following year. Louisville started out very slowly, but they are clearly peaking at the right time. They've been there and they've done that. They're certainly getting quality play at the right time. You can understand why they're the favorites. Yeah, it's true that Cincinnati played even with them during the year, but Cincinnati, I don't know if has quite enough firepower. And here's a case where I'm going to have to agree with the public. Memphis, a little bit of a dark horse team. I don't think senior play is quite as important as a lot of people say it is, but they do have 4 quality seniors at guard, and most importantly, they are the host. I wouldn't count out SMU. We've said one of our golden rules is people too often think that a road game is the same as a neutral game. It's not. The fact that SMU is much better at home than on the road isn't a concern to us because a neutral game is not a road game. They do have Larry Brown, a guy who's been successful at both the college and the NBA level. He certainly is going to have this team prepared. They're a pretty good dark horse as well.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with everything you're saying. I wouldn't want to take Memphis at just plus 400 because they're kind of like a head case team. SMU's the opposite. They're a very well-coached team, and they seem like they have a good head on their collective shoulders. And plus 1,100, they might have some value. My only thought is that, I agree with you that Louisville is, a notch or a notch and a half above Cincinnati right now. But, very recently Cincinnati played Louisville super tight. They were at home and they lost by just 1. It's true they were at home, but in light of that, Louisville minus 145, Cincinnati at plus 600. Should Louisville have that much of an edge over Cincinnati?
Yeah, one of the reasons they've been playing so much better, Montrezl Harrell has been sizzling hot. He's averaging 21.2 points per game, 9.4 rebounds, and 4 of those 5 games were against ranked teams. Here's one of those cases where, again, I think it's a little bit of a myth. People fall in love with defensive-oriented teams. When it comes to big games, I like a team that can score, and Louisville has a little bit more offensive depth than Cincinnati. But, you're right. If Cincinnati pulls this game off, you can see how they'd have a little bit more of a chip on their shoulder. It's not like it's going to be a humongous. We're going to see a lot bigger upsets in March than, possibly Cincinnati winning this tournament. But still, it would be a mild surprise. I think that Louisville should be the favorite, but, again, Memphis, pretty dangerous as well. But no, Cincinnati would not be a shock, but I can understand how, they're a little bit of a long shot relative to Louisville.
All right, at these odds, it's tough. It makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable, but I'm going to go with Cincinnati plus 600. What's your official pick at these odds, Joe?
Yeah, no, I would say if I'm going to go with a long shot, I'm probably going to go with Connecticut. They certainly do have Shabazz Napier at UConn. His red hot comparisons are being made to him and Kemba Walker, where Connecticut made that great run through the Big East a couple years ago. So as a best value here, I'm going to go with a little bit of a long shot and actually predict Connecticut to make the big run.
All right, and then looking at some individual games, there's nothing really that jumped out at me other than I kind of like Temple over Central Florida in round one. Central Florida's been a terrible bet all year long, and Temple's actually been pretty good against the spread recently. They've gotten some good wins, and even on the futures odds, Temple has shorter odds in Central Florida. So I like Temple. I think they're +1 over Central Florida in round one, and then a little bit less. I think I'm liking Rutgers over South Florida also in round one. What do you think of those?
Yeah, I especially like Rutgers. Keep in mind that they're one of our under-the-radar teams. They're now competitive in losses. They lost by 48 at Louisville on February the 16th, but recently they've lost by 6 or less to some quality teams: Memphis, Cincinnati, Central Florida, UConn, and then they did beat South Florida. So they're one of our dichotomous spread and ATS teams where they are losing, but they're very competitive in their losses. So they're getting better, but getting better quietly. And I would say that, yes, Rutgers as a first-round game, they're probably going to win and cover that game, and they could be a dangerous dog in the second round.
All right, I definitely agree with you. All right, those are two picks I'm liking, Temple and Rutgers. And then also, Houston has been playing really well. They're 6-1-1 against the spread over their last 8. But, in their first game, they play SMU, and then if they get by SMU, they'll be up against Louisville, and I wouldn't want to bet against either of those teams. So I'm throwing out a bet on Houston in this tournament.
Yeah, no, and keep in mind that SMU, a lot of people think they've overachieved because Larry Brown is such a genius, and overachieving teams can be, teams that you can fade in March, a little bit overvalued. So Houston may not be a bad bet whatsoever.
Right. Okay. Thanks so much, Joe.
All right. Thank you, Peter.